Welcome to the story of a pastor's secret, what the congregation never saw coming. In a bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, where the street hummed with life and the air was thick with the scent of roasted plantains and diesel fumes, there stood a magnificent mega church known as Divine Grace Ministry. The church was a towering structure with a massive auditorium that could seat thousands, state-of-the-art sound system, and a neon cross that glowed brightly at night. It was the pride of the community, a place where miracles were said to happen every Sunday. At the center of it all was Pastor Elijah Adebayo, a charismatic and dynamic preacher who had risen to fame with his fiery sermons, prophetic declarations, and a reputation for performing miracles. Pastor Adebayo was more than just a spiritual leader. He was a celebrity. His face had adorned billboards across Lagos. His sermon trended on social media, and his books sold out in hours. He was the man of the moment, a spiritual giant who seemed to have a direct line to God. Pastor Adebayo's wife, Sister Deborah, was the perfect first lady. She was elegant, graceful, and always by his side, leading the women's ministry and organizing charity events. Together, they were the power couple of Nigeria Christendom, admired and respected by millions. But beneath the glitz, glamour, and anointing oil lay a secret so dark, so shocking, that it would send shockwaves through the entire nation. It started with a tweet a young woman named Amara, who claimed to be a former member of Divine Grace Ministry, posted a critic message on Twitter. Not everything that glitters is gold. Some men of God are wolves in sheep's clothing. At first, the tweet was ignored. After all, Pastor Adebayo had his fair share of critics and trolls. But then, more people began to come forward. A former usher claimed he had seen the pastor meeting with shady businessmen late at night. A choir member said she had overheard a heated argument between Pastor Adebayo and Sister Deborah, where the pastor allegedly shouted, "You think you can expose me? I built this church." The rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by the Nigerian love for drama and intrigue. Soon, the hashtag Pastor Adebayo Secrets began spreading on Twitter. Bloggers and online tabloids picked up the story, and the church social media page were flooded with questions. Pastor Adebayo, ever the showman, addressed the rumor during a Sunday service. With tears in his eyes and a trembling voice, he declared, "The devil is attacking me because I am doing the work of God, but I will not be moved. I am a man of integrity, and my hands are clean." The congregation erupted in applause, and for a moment it seemed like the storm had passed. But deep down, the cracks were beginning to show. Behind the scene, Pastor Adebayo's life was far from holy. Unknown to his congregation, he had been living a double life for years. While he preached against the sin and corruption, he was deeply involved in shady business deals, money laundering, and even extortion. He had amassed a fortune, not from tithe and offering, but from exploiting the very people who trusted him. Worse still, there were rumors of infidelity. A young woman named Chioma, who had once been a member of the church drama team, came forward with a shocking revelation. She claimed to have had a secret affair with pastor, which resulted in a pregnancy. According to Chioma, Pastor Adebayo had paid her off to keep quiet and forced her to leave the church. The story exploded on social media, with Chioma sharing photos, text messages, and even voice recordings as proof. The Nigerian public was divided. Some believed Chioma and demanded justice, while others accused her of trying to tarnish the pastor's reputation. Sister Deborah, who had always been the picture of grace and strength, suddenly disappeared from the public eyes. Rumors swirled that she had left the pastor, taking their children with her. As more evidence surfaced, the pressure on Pastor Adebayo became unbearable. The Economic and Financial Crime Commission (EFCC) launched an investigation into its finances, uncovering millions of dollars in hidden accounts and properties bought under fake names. The media had a field day with headlines like "Man of God" or "Man of Greed" and "The Fall of a Spiritual Giant." The final blow came when a video leaked online. In a grainy footage, Pastor Adebayo could be seen meeting with a known drug lord, exchanging a suitcase filled with cash. The video went viral, and even his most loyal supporter could no longer defend him. In a dramatic turn of events, Pastor Adebayo was arrested during a live Sunday service as EFCC officials led him away in handcuffs. The congregation watched in stunned silence. The man they had once revered as a spiritual father was now a criminal, his empire crumbling around him. The scandal rocked the nation, sparking debates about the role of megachurches and the accountability of spiritual leaders. Divine Grace Ministry, once a thriving institution, saw its membership dwindle as people left in droves. Sister Deborah filed for divorce, and Pastor Adebayo's children changed their surname to distance themselves from the scandal. In the end, Pastor Adebayo was sentenced to 15 years in prison for fraud and money laundering. From his prison cell, he released a statement apologizing to his congregation and admitting to his sin, but for many, the damage was irreversible. The story of Pastor Elijah Adebayo became a cautionary tale, a reminder that not all that glitters is gold. And as the neon cross at Divine Grace Ministry flickered and went dark, the people of Lagos were left to ponder the true cost of blind faith. Years later, the building that once housed Divine Grace Ministry was converted into a community center, offering free education and health care to the poor. Chioma, the young woman who had exposed the scandal, became an advocate for victims of abuse and exploitation. And Sister Deborah, now a single mother, found solace in starting a small ministry focused on helping women rebuild their life. As for Pastor Adebayo, he spent his days in prison, reflecting on the choice that he had made that ruined his life. In his darkest moments, he often wondered if he could ever find redemption. But for the people of Lagos, the story of Pastor's Secret served as a powerful reminder that true faith is not in the man behind the pulpit, but the message he preaches. Chioma testified against Pastor Adebayo, revealing the detail of her affairs with Pastor Adebayo. Emeka presented financial record. Pastor Adebayo's defense team argues that he is being targeted because of his faith, but the evidence is overwhelming. The judge delivered the verdict guilty on all counts: fraud, abuse of power, and exploitation. Gasps and murmurs filled the courtroom as the once Reverend Pastor was led away in handcuffs. His face stripped of the confidence he once exuded. Chioma watched from the back, her hand gripping the edges of the wooden bench. Justice had been served, but the scar of betrayal would take time to heal. She had found strength in speaking out, and now she was determined to use her voice to help others who had suffered in silence. Sister Deborah, having finally freed herself from the shackles of a toxic marriage, stepped out of the courtroom with quiet resolve. She no longer carried the burden of upholding a false image. Instead, she looked ahead to a new future, one where she would stand for truth, not just in words, but in action. Meanwhile, Emeka and Funke exposed has sparked a nation conversation about accountability with religious institutions. The fall of Divine Grace Ministry served as a stark reminder that faith should never be blind and that no man, no matter his title, should be placed above justice. In the day that followed, the massive church building that had once housed thousands stood empty, a shell of its former grandeur. But from the ashes of the scandal, something new emerged. Chioma, Deborah, and a growing community of survivors began working to transform the space into a shelter for women in need, a place of true grace and healing. As Chioma stepped onto the stage of the newly repurposed center, she took a deep breath and faced the audience. This time, she was no longer singing to impress a man of God. She was singing to inspire hope, to remind the world that even in the darkness, light could shine still. Thank you for watching and following the journey. Your support, encouragement, and willingness to have this tough conversation mean everything. Let's continue to stand for truth, accountability, and real faith. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.